Good day, good day. Thank you for joining me today. Man, we've got a lot of things to talk about today. You hear me? First of all, I'd like to give praise and glory to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for laying down his life and giving me this opportunity to even be in front of you today. So what I want to talk about today is something that OMG is doing or trying to get ready to do. We're in the beginning phases. We did a lot of things out of this building, but a couple of things that we were licensed to be in this building was to, number one was to be a restaurant, so we still have our licensing and permits to be a restaurant, and number two, to conduct an online business from this building. Those were the two things that we primarily did from this building. And when we first became a restaurant, that was the idea of doing that in order to generate revenue to continue our humanitarian work. So everything that we have done here, every business that we have tried to conduct in this building has been with the forethought or the concept of generating our own income in order to continue our humanitarian work. And you may ask, well, what is your humanitarian work? Well, what we do is we try to prop up or help support our communities in the best way possible. And some of those ways have been dealing with our local school system, such as Subic Central Elementary or Subic Central School, trying to help provide them with the necessary things they need to educate our youth. Because number one, that's one of the foremost important things in life. In order to break cycles and in order to improve as humanity, education is the number one prerequisite to a better tomorrow. So that was one of our main focuses on partnering up with the schools in our local area and trying as best as we could to assist them with the things they needed, such as books, and we donated first aid kits. We donated over 200 of those. We bought and paid for those with some help from the public. Also free haircuts, things like that. Anything that we could do that was within our means, and we genuinely got a kick out of doing it. We enjoyed it. We loved it. But that wasn't enough for us. That was like us doing something, but we weren't maximizing what OMG is really all about. So what we have decided to do is to turn this facility into something like a community center. One of the things that really digs deep into my heart and into my soul is the homeless situation that I see right in my immediate area. I can walk literally out my front door, walk around the corner, and then take another right. And if I walk past the different stores and things like that, especially towards the evening time and the nighttime, you'll see the homeless that are out there with not just them, not just one person, not just two people, but it could be an entire family, which may consist of 2, 3, or 4 children. And that just gets into the very fabric of my soul, because I've been there, just maybe not on that level or to that degree, but I have been at a point in my life on more than one occasion where I actually had to live out of my car. Not just myself, my entire family. We were living, and that was with 4 children. We were living out of my car, and no one ever knew it, because what we would do is we actually were working. It's not like we weren't working, we were working. But we had just moved to an area. We didn't have any place to stay. We didn't have any forethought. We just spontaneously did what we had to do because we were at a dead end point. And many of us have been at that point in our lives, okay? So we just packed up and left. And so we had to live out of our car. We found jobs immediately. And from there, we started progressing towards doing better things for ourselves. But we went through that where we had to actually go to different stores and we would use the restroom facilities at those particular locations to take full baths with, out of the sinks and things like that. Places where people went to use the bathroom, you know, we actually used those facilities to cleanse ourselves. That was one of the most lowest points of my life, but we got through it and we did what we had to do to survive. When it comes to this building, we didn't do enough. We didn't do what we were supposed to do. So now we're going to turn this building into like a community building where we help the homeless. We try to provide hot meals for them. I don't mean just stuff we don't want and things we throw away. See, that's how we treat the homeless. That's how we treat the less fortunate. We give them things that we don't want. We give them things that we no longer have a use for. And that is so contradictory to how Jesus Christ was. That is so far apart from the teachings and the things he tried to teach his apostles and those that were around him of how to treat the poor and the homeless. So we, as OMG, have decided to give the community, give the homeless, give the less fortunate, give those who maybe can't afford the internet service and things like that, our best, not our worst, or not our leftovers. So that's a big project that we're not financially prepared for. And I said that to God. I said, God, how am I supposed to do this? I can barely, at this point, keep food on the table for my own family. How am I to do that? And God told me, this is what he told me. And if I'm wrong, it won't be the first time I've been wrong. So I can only go by what I believe God has told me. He said, you dedicated that building to me when you first got it. And everybody that's around me knows that. That's what we did. Do that. He said, actually do that. Dedicate the building to me, to taking care of my servants, to taking care of those that can't provide for themselves. And I'll bring people your way. And he reminded me of what he told the apostles when he instructed them to go out to different parts and different territories. He told them, don't take all this stuff with you. Don't take a bunch of clothes. Don't worry about where you're going to stay. Don't worry about what you're going to eat. That's all going to be taken care of. He reminded me of those examples, so I got to stand on that. I got to go with that. I got to ride with that till the wheels fall off. And if I'm misinterpreting something, because I'm imperfect, if I'm misunderstanding something, then it won't be the first time that I've misunderstood something. And the thing about life, you'll get the answer sooner or later. If you're going to heaven, you'll get that answer sooner or later. If you're going somewhere else, you're going to get that answer sooner or later. That's for sure about life. So I hope I'm right. We're going to do this like I'm going to pour everything into it. It's a big undertaking. We have to get the electricity and the water reworked. And back on, we've got to get the plumbing redone. We've got to you'll see the video that I'm going to also put with this video. You'll see a walkthrough that we did with the contractor. And it's not as expensive as I thought it was going to be to get everything up and going. Because, okay, if you're talking about feeding the homeless, you gotta have food. You gotta have people that prepare the food. You gotta have people that serve the food. And you also got to have one person that's kind of like a security. Because homeless people really deal with different issues. Sometimes it's not just a financial thing. Sometimes it's a mental thing. Sometimes, and I think that all my prior experience has culminated to this point because I worked with the mentally ill for years. a facility setting, and also in a more home type setting, in group homes and things of that nature. So I understand the things that torment them. And sometimes when you're dealing with the homeless people, or you're dealing with people that seem out of their mind, you're dealing with something that's not, you're dealing with something sometimes that's supernatural, whether you want to believe that or not. Sometimes, and we look down upon people, we constantly talk about people that are homeless, that are mentally ill, and those that are of the Christian faith, those that have a deep belief in God, sometimes when we see that and we walk past them, it sends chills down our body, because sometimes we know what's up. We know what their problem is. You just can't go around telling the everyday average Joe, that person has a demon inside of them. Because people won't grasp that thought, and people will actually think you're crazy. Now, that's not the case all the time, but sometimes that's actually what has affected people. It's biblical. I mean, if they did it in Jesus' day and they did it before, why can't that be happening in our day and time? And we have such a disconnect from the scriptures that we can't, when we see things, we can't compartmentalize them and relate a scripture to it. That's why sometimes we're not receiving our full blessing. We may be blessed, we may have money, we may have homes, we may have a career, we may have a job, but we probably could have so much more. You can have all those things without God. You can have every one of those things without God. I can go out here and I can make almost $500,000 a year without God. Anybody tells you that they need God to survive, that's the mentality that they have developed, but you don't. You do not, because God has enabled you, enabled all of us with free will, free reign. And he says he makes the sun shine on the righteous and the unrighteous equally. So you can be successful without God. I know plenty of people that worship the devil that are very well off. So when somebody tells you they can't survive without God, they can't make it without God, they can't live without God, that's how they condition their mind because of their relationship with God. But if you want to put things into literal terms and the technicalities of things, oh yes, you can. But how much more so are the blessings if we incorporate God in everything we do? And that's, I know now why I'm here. I know now why I'm stuck here. It had nothing to do with God. Used a particular situation to gravitate me to a situation that I was prepared to do, but it was going to be 5 and 6 years down the road. And everybody that knows me, I'm in the trucking industry, and everybody that knows me, that were close to me in this industry, can tell you how I constantly talked about retiring at an early age, how I constantly talk about I want to go to the Philippines, I just want to give myself to people, and I want to be able to help the less fortunate. So me sitting here telling them that this is what I'm going to do is not a surprise. But one thing they saw me do, they saw me put it off year after year after year after year because of finances, because the money I was making was just too good to walk away. So now God's forced me to walk away from $369,000 per year gross income to a situation of, okay, now I got to figure out what I'm going to eat on a daily basis. How am I going to pull this off, turning this building into a community center? God said, just do it and do my part. He'll do the rest. He'll send people our way. That's all I can do is bank on that. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And if you don't want to help, if you don't want to contribute, if you don't see that, then that message is not meant for you. And the blessing that you will receive in doing this and giving is not meant for you. That particular blessing is not meant for you. Every blessing has someone's name on it. I really feel like that. I've been blessed a million times in my life. And that's where the terminology OMG, that's where I got that from. Because I have had a million oh my God moments in my life. But always God provided for me because of my giving heart. And you always got to keep the key to this, keep the right motive in doing it. You can't do it to glorify yourself. That will make God turn his back to you. You can't do it for others to glorify you. When they start to glorify you, you have to run from that. You have to repel that, just like Jesus did. You can't allow that to happen. And it's so many times that we do that. And I have a big thing about putting my name on stuff, like my own, like this building, calling it my own, after my own name. I have a big issue with that, because that brings more attention to me than to anything else. And that's not for everybody. I'm talking about me. I don't want to get caught in that trap, of people patting you on the back, telling you how good you're doing, and eventually, yeah, I have done a lot, haven't I? So, no, and that's not the way it works. So, this is what we got, guys. To get the kitchen, paint the inside of the building, take care of the lights, take care of the plumbing, take care of those issues. We're looking at, just to do that part, we're looking at $3,132. $3,132 is the general estimate that I've been given, and that will allow us actually to get the stock room, turn it into a shower and a nice bathroom. Because like I say, if I'm going to do something for the community, for the homeless, I'm not giving them my worst. I'm not giving them my leftovers. I'm not giving them a hole in the wall to come and bathe themselves in, If that's what I had to do, then of course. But if I can attempt to give them my best, then that's what I gotta do. So everything I have in here is dedicated towards that. When I started looking at an annual budget to have cooks, to have servers, to have people that would be here possibly to help their children with their work and things like that, the number actually swells. And we could actually get by with we did a year's projection. And that number actually swells to $15,387 when you're projecting out an entire 12 months. And that's with us budgeting, that's with us having at least 2 volunteers, and that's with the community supporting us, giving us things like rice, which is very essential in the Philippines, trying to partner up with some of our local businesses, because they have the homeless that sleep in front of their stores and things as well. So that's with us building good relationships, partnering up with the community, and trying to find ways to avail of their resources as well. So it's got to be a partnership. $15,000 will project us out and take care of OMG for the whole year as far as the community center is concerned. To get us started, we're looking at $3,000. I think it's 132 or 3,332 in that ballpark. That's the estimate I got on redoing the building, and that was a generous estimate because we have some leaks in the roof. That's taking care of those issues. That's remodeling the stock room in order to be a nice bathroom. We got to put tiles on the floors. You'll see from the video of all the things we have to do. In the kitchen area, we got to put sinks. We've got to run the plumbing. We've got to put a prep table back in there, and we've got to do some things that's going to be conducive to us putting out healthy food. Thank God we kept our licensing to be a restaurant, so we're able to feed them, and it's just a blessing that we did that. We need more tables. This building will accommodate 45 people, and we want to have it full. On Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, if we can find a willing, fundamental, doctrine-oriented religious leader or spiritual overseer to help come give a word on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, or Sundays, Wednesdays, and Friday, whatever day. I would like it to be 3 days a week. Even if we could patch into a church, if a church from the U.S. that had fundamental doctrines and the people's best interest at heart, if we could align with them and partner with them, and they could be responsible for the spiritual oversight, because I'm not qualified to do that. I don't want to step into a role I'm qualified to do this. To lead people spiritually, I'm not qualified to do that. Even though I know that word. That is reserved for those who God say that's reserved for. And people have been trying to push me in that direction for years, but I'm not qualified for that yet. And I don't know if I ever will be. But this is something I'm qualified to do. To help the community, that's my niche. But I need the public's help. This is not for me. You're not doing it for me. This is not even my building. I don't own the building. So everything we're doing, all the remodeling we're doing is not going to service me. I do not own this building. I've been renting this building for about three years now. I got a good deal on this building. It's like $400 a month covers the rent. Then the light bill is very high at this building because it's a commercial space. The light bill here is usually around $500 or $600 a month if you're going to have that amount of people with you. On a daily basis and on a monthly basis, you're looking at about $600 a month in the electric bill. Another $400 a month in the rent. And then that, like I said, so that in a nutshell right there is about $1,000 per month that you've got tied up. That's $12,000 per year. So that's just the basics. The water bill here is going to average around between 500 and 700 pesos a month. So we're looking at about, let's just say, another $20 a month for the water. That's what the average water bill is here. Then we've got two volunteers. I've got people that this is important to them as well. So they will volunteer. But also, we've got to have some paid staff. People that can cook, people that are going to help serve, and then the person that's going to be in charge of maybe helping educate our young people, even helping educate the homeless. Because that blows my mind when I see little kids out there laying on cardboard boxes the whole freaking night, man, the whole night. Up until that business opens in the morning and then they have to leave. And then I'm curious as to where they go from there. What do they do from there? And we're not going to be set up to be a shelter. That's not what we're going to be. But at least we can make sure they have a hot meal, a clean bath, and try to get their minds oriented into cleanliness. And then if we can have somebody, whether they patch in from the U.S. or we got a big TV, I got big TVs, I got projector screens. If there's an organization in the U.S., a church, a reputable church that is willing to help partner and have a presence here in the Philippines. I know all kinds of churches that talk about they want to extend their presence. I'm inviting you to do that. I'm inviting you to have full reign over that type of situation under your leadership, under your guidance. And maybe we can patch into you guys on Sundays, on Thursdays, on Tuesdays, where they can get a word. They need a word. The homeless need a word. Why do we think just the blessings and the gifts and certain things are just reserved for us when they're not? Look at the example of Jesus Christ, people. Please, my God, look at the example. He took to the prostitutes. He took to the filthy people that constantly the public turned their nose up to them because they were diseased or infirm. Those are the ones that Jesus took his bare hands and laid his hands upon them and touched them and embraced them. And why can't we be like that? Why can't we receive the full manifestation of our blessings? Why can't God use us? Why, if we're out there doing wrong, I don't understand why we don't do certain things to make up for it. You can't make up, there's nothing we can do to make up everything with God that we have done this wrong. But we can try. It don't stop you from trying. But what people tell you when they tell you, you can't buy this, you can't make up for this, try. And let's see what happens. Try it. The money that you give, if you sell drugs, if you do wrong, the money that you give to a church, help someone, pray over it first. Say, God, I know I'm wrong, but here, please accept this offering, accept this gift. People will tell you that God, they don't know God. They don't have no idea how God is going to look at you. That's your problem. You're listening to an imperfect person tell you imperfect things. They don't know. Nobody knows the fullness of God. God can see you and instantly change you. God can say, look at this fool. Look at this idiot. But man, he's got a good heart. Do you know some of the things that Abraham did? Do you know some of the things that Jacob did? Do you have any idea of the things of the evil and the wickedness that David did? But God was able to use them in a mighty, mighty way. Why? Because of this thing. Because of what's in here. So that's what I'm sitting here trying to appeal to. This is not for me because I don't own this building. All my stuff, I'm making it available to the Lord, not to get personal gain on. I'm walking away from $369,000 a year. And it's still not enough. I still can't make up everything I've done that's wrong with God, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try. I'm going to say, God, let me do this. Let me use you. I told God the other day, God, if you can't use me to the full and the full glory that I have in my mind and my heart, take me. I don't even want to be here on this earth. Take me now because I have no use. I have no purpose. If he can't use me in a mighty, mighty way, I don't want to be on this earth because everything else that I've done is not good enough, and I've done so much wrong in my life that if God can't use me in a mighty way, I don't mean in a little way. That ain't what's in my heart. That ain't what's in that he put inside me. If you want to operate a little bitty church in that little bitty town that I'm from, that's cool. That's your, I'm not knocking that. That's your calling. That's not what he put inside of me. He put ideas of grandeur inside my head, inside my body. I don't want to sit here and make $369,000 a year. That won't do nothing for me, and have a big 2-3-story home and a nice car. That doesn't fulfill me. I told God, if you can't use me to the fullness of your purpose that I have inside of me, that I've been carrying in me since a child, take me off this earth because I don't have, take me now. Do away with me, sweep me away somewhere. And I mean that with everything I have. Because I am of no use, I will have served no purpose, man. This is what we got to do to get this community center up and going. Let's get this one up and going. And then if someone has one they want to do in the U.S. that's connected with some type of organization, some type of church, let's build some bricks here. Let's get this established. And if someone wants to come in and help, that can give some oversight to it, that have had experience with this, that can put us in a good position, because it takes money to do anything. You can't even serve the Lord well without money. You can't. It's impossible. It's impossible. Don't let anybody fool you, because people will say things all the time, but don't ever forget, that's an imperfect person giving you a message. Because when you go to church, you got to get there. Number one, you got to get there, whether somebody drops you off or drives you. Somebody has spent gas to get there. Fuel. Then, when you get to the building, if it's the winter time, you gotta have heat. You can't sit in there and freeze. And if it's the summertime, you gotta have air conditioning, or you'll melt away like I'm about to do here. It even takes money to serve God to the degree that we want to serve God. When you get there, you want to give. You want to give your portion and say to the Lord, okay, I've worked all week. Lord, here's my sacrifice unto you. People, I'm asking for your help. Whether you like me, whether you know me, that is all irrelevant. And I've heard every time in the past, when it comes to doing something in different countries, the first thing someone hollers from the U.S., not the first thing, but a lot of people that are not have roots in the Bible, they would say, well, I got to take care of the USA first. I got to take care of my people home first, and then I can help someone abroad. That is the most backwards philosophy, according to Jesus, that you could ever adopt. Jesus was already set. He had his set people. He didn't have to come down and lay down his life for them. They were already in a chosen state. Jesus came and laid down his life to open the doors for you and me, crazy, for us to have an opportunity. And we all were condemned to death. And guess what? We still gonna die. But now, me as a black man, you as a white man, you as an Asian, the doors are open to all of us now. All of us now have an opportunity to get to the throne. So if Jesus would have said, I'm only going to take care of my people, nothing is more further from the Bible. And as Americans, as America, we have an obligation. We have been blessed for a reason. And as long as we bless others, as long as we remember where our bread was buttered, we're going to continue to receive blessings. That's why all this talk about closing off borders and looking at people crazy and denying ethnicities, that's a dangerous road to go down. That's a dangerous path we're traveling in that. We have to be balanced in everything. Because God, if God says, we're going to be measured and judged according to how we measure out and judge others. Remember that. You better get your butt back into the roots and the basis of these scriptures, man, because we're in the last days. A lot of things are being fulfilled. The time for playing and foolery is over, dude. It's over. $3,000 will get us going. We'll make the numbers work somehow. In the video, you see all we gotta do, so you know that's not a padded number. Plus, I'm sitting here dealing with God. I can't afford to pad numbers. 3,000 will get us rolling. 6,000 will get us rolling with a cushion. 15,000, I guarantee you, 15,000, between 15 and 20,000, I can make that work for a whole year. I can make that work for a whole year as a community center, feeding, and partnering with some of our local businesses. We're getting ready to go talk to the mayor Monday to let him know, hey, because we've supported things that they have done in the past. We've worked so closely with our frontline workers and first responders. We've done so much here in this community that we hope we have established a rapport. We've given of our resources. So now we're asking for resources. And hopefully we'll have ain't no hopefully in it. God told me he'd send people our way, and I'm sure if he says he'll do it, he's going to bless them on the back end. I'm sure it is. You know, when you give, it's not a time that I haven't given that I've been blessed. I might have had a death sentence around the corner. I might have, with that money may have been used for something that could have harmed me. But I know how God operates, man. Like when I'm late for something and I'm stuck in traffic, I don't bitch, I don't moan, I don't have a hard time. Maybe God's putting me there for a reason. Maybe something to my detriment is up ahead. So I've learned to be okay with wherever I am in life. I've learned to make it work and be okay. And this situation that I'm in presently, I'm okay with it and I'm making it work. And I'm hoping that I can get others to jump on the bandwagon and make it work with me. But anyway, guys, thank you for allowing me to take up your time. Thank you for allowing me to bring this kind of message to you. Remember, God don't want what's in your surplus. Give of your sacrifice. Give of something that you're going to feel the significance of it. Do what you can do. And then if you see you can do more, do more. I remember one time, and I'm going to get away. I went to a revival one time of a friend of mine named Jimmy Thomas. I went to a revival that he was having at a church. I forget where that church is, but he had first leased that building. It was a big, nice church. And he had invited a pastor down from California. And And I had already put my money in my pocket that I was going to give for the revival. I think it was like $50. Man, that dude kept on going, and I kept going in my pocket, kept putting the money to it. By the time I walked out of there, I gave $200 and some. And when I walked out of there, I said, what the hell did you just do? When I started thinking about it. And for the longest of time, I could have kicked myself. But not long after that, I started making big money, man. And it took me back to that situation. I didn't want to give that kind of money. I had like $360 some in my pocket total. I had only put about 40 to 50. I think it was $50 to give. That's all I wanted to give. But the word was so good. He kept talking about the sacrifice. He kept talking about, hey, look at the first offering. Then he just kept saying, hey, come on, I know y'all can do more, and different things like that. Is this all we can do? You know, and he talked about how God was going to bless us in return. And I went on and did it. I rolled the dice and did it. And God blessed me so much. But I did it because I knew I was in a position to do it. I knew I could do it. And I knew what I was giving wasn't all I could give. I knew I could do more. So anyway, let's do things for the community. Let's do things to help these children. Let's do things to help the homeless. Let's humanize the homeless. And don't treat them like they're diseased people. Don't treat them like they're an outcast or a sore to society. Let's humanize this thing, man. Let's do what we can do. We got to get food for them, rice. We got to have vegetables, meats that we got to cook on a daily basis. But let's get this thing started. Let's get going and get it started. Once we get it going, get it started, we can actually show people what we're doing. Then we can start moving out to different segments. Then we might can get some of these celebrities and these different well-known people. Once they see what we're doing and see the progress of it and see that we're not just blowing smoke, people will come on board. They'll help you once they can see the fruits. Sometimes people got to see first. Those big names, they got to see first. And you got to present a track record to them. This is what we've done here, there, and here. This is where we want to go. So anyway, thank you guys for your time. I appreciate everything. I appreciate the giving. There's links here that can tell you different ways to give. Cash App, a direct pay link that's linked with OMG. And then we have created a GoFundMe account. So there's several ways to give. There's no excuse for not giving. And remember, this message is going to stay in your head. If you listen to it, it's going to stay in your head. And you have a choice of the help, or you have a choice of not helping. That is a choice you're going to make, but it's not for me. It's for the homeless. I ain't talking about people that have a place to stay and have difficulty paying their bills. I'm talking to people out there sleeping on cardboard, sleeping on steps, sleeping on the sidewalk. And I can show you those people. And in the video, you'll see some of them and see how we take them food. We've been taking the food on a daily basis, but we're just running out of resources. So we need the public's help. So thank you guys so very much. We love you, and may God bless you to the fullness. May the fullness of the blessing that He is going to bestow upon you be made manifest in your life. I pray that, and I ask that in Jesus Christ's name. That's a wrap, guys. If you want to know the rest, if you want to pray on the situation, if you got to find out more, take it to God. Do what He tells you to do.